What is an imagined community and how is it formed? In his book, Benedict coined the concept imagined communities. He believes that nations are social constructs of people who perceived and imagine themselves as being part of a certain group. As they are larger than face-to-face societies, communal bonds felt by members are imagined. It would have been impossible without the formation of other groups, otherwise, there was no one whom they could show to the world and expect to see what the world has to say. Anderson stresses that communities are to be distinguished not by their falsity or genuineness, but by the style in which they are to be imagined. Anderson also adds that it is imagined because members will never know most of their fellow members, meet them, or even hear them. The formation of an imagined community was, however, highly exclusive and limited. Delimitation acknowledges boundaries of a nation, forming who belongs and who doesn't. Those who didn't belong were excluded from forming a national identity. The nation was viewed as a cultural artifact, and nationalism is a principle that holds its national unit, politics, and economy in line. Anderson believes that nationalism is not linked with racism. From his perspective, nationalism is characterized by historical destinies that can contribute to a better society by encouraging good behavior. It is present in our everyday lives through national events, food, sports, news, and more. On the other hand, one can argue that the 19th century English imperialism and Nazi revolution resulted in nationalism. The Aryan race imagined themselves as superior, high above the Jews based on a social class. This could not have been achieved without the media that Hitler readily used. Radio was sold to households at extremely low prices where his speeches were played over and over again. Posters covered all corners of the streets to achieve unflagging attention among Germans, which led to the perception of a communal bond among Germans, constructing a national identity, while the Jewish people were out of the boundary. Print capitalism allows people to think about themselves in relation to others in profoundly new ways. The market development of newspapers and books plays an important role in telling a tale. The writers and readers of print capitalism are the new forms of communications and expressions where they imagine others to be like themselves. This propagates a particular print language, eventually becoming drivers of nationalist thoughts. As Hitler mentions in his autobiography Mein Kampf, the print media can be used for propaganda, not to weigh and ponder the rights of different people, but exclusively to emphasize the one right which it has set out to argue for. Comparing with the technological world we live in today, Thomas Erickson believes that the media technology and internet are the main drivers of strengthening national identities. The internet is instrumental in creating and strengthening a collective and shared past among users. Facebook, for example, allows users with common interests and mutual friends to build friendships, eventually gathering people of the same kind together. Broadband internet and cable television also allows those living away from their home country to engage with local news regardless of their location. Anderson coins this term long-distance nationalism. The ironic consequence is that the media, internet, and cheap travel are allowing people to engage in their home country's politics and have powerful influence over it. This is despite them being away from their country of origin and could potentially pose a threat to the country's national identity of an imagined community. Under rapid globalization and the rise of media technologies, nations are continuously pushed together, forcing national elites to accentuate and celebrate national belongingness, histories, and commemorations. This is in hopes of strengthening and declaring their identities that fosters an imagined community.